Okay. Anyways, retouch is on. But my name is Darlene Anderson, and I am living here in Nevada. And over my lifetime, I was able to just participate. I mean, because of the situation that I was gifted through, whatever, life journey, whatever. I've been on the path of understanding just who I am. And as this is 2025, I don't see the necessary advocacy for the people who look like us. And then DEI is on the rise, meaning that diversity, equity, and whatever, they're not going to be paying attention because they really don't care if you get a position or you don't. But my concern is when I look into the community of people who look like me, the people who are providing those services, well, they're really not too caring about if the services actually happen. And I'm saying, but you have to have the data, and data is everything. Let me share my live. Not yet. Okay, we're back. And so, welcome to my live. And you can chat if you'd like, ask questions, please. But the deal is that we had no idea the importance of just attendance and public education until 2022. That's right. When the big seat hit, we found out the importance of showing up. Because when people just couldn't show up anymore, they really had to demonstrate how they were using those dollars, as it is a state obligation to educate the local people who live in the community, the territory, whatever. You claiming it? Okay, as you have claimed your state, the obligation for state obligation is real. And so you get so much money to help provide support for the people who live in your community, and that is based on the census. And the census just truly exists, but there have been people who write these RFPs. Aslan, hello, hello. But there are people that can write these RFPs, a request for a proposal. And when the Danielle, well, hello, y'all come on in. I'm just saying, I've been around for a long time. I'm not worried about giving misinformation because the information I give to you means that you are required to go look it up and go figure it out, because we've allowed failure to be the only option for people who look like us. And then, there's zero tolerance. Nobody wants to deal with these children with all these issues. And what are issues? Well, they've identified ways of providing support for children who tantrum and who fail to transition. Oh, my son is at the door. I heard extra talk, extra talk. And so he be talking on his phone and I be talking on my phone, and we're a family of communicators. Yes, you see? And I'm no longer that age. I am 66 and he is 39 in May. That's right. Still single. I only have one grandchild. She's just beautiful, and she really is, and so gifted. And she says, "Wait, Grandma, wait. I've got a new emoji." And then she finds the lips, and she pushes a big set of juicy lips right there for me to let me know that she loves me, and I love her too. And the whole thing is that we have to understand how we, hello, welcome to the live. It's a live stream, and we should all be doing this right now in 2025. Why wouldn't? Oh, you're from Brazil. Well, then I know you're from Brazil, and you're just of color. Nice color too. In many ways, it's wonderful to be living in 2025. People say, "Oh, you seem so happy." Hell yeah, I'm happy. As long as I can pay the bills, boo, it is a glorious day. And it's a shame that I have so many bills, but I do have bills. The more we have bills, the more we just gather more shit. And we are, you don't want to hear me talking. Well, you just would like to watch, I'm sure. But the whole thing is I came on here to talk. And I really came on here to talk about why the people who look like me have waited for so long for instruction on as to why they, no, I don't speak Portuguese, waited on the offer of what is free and appropriate, because it's not. Public education is mandatory and people don't understand that. But it gives so many people the opportunity to oversee your behavior. And, if you'd like to be crude, I don't have moderators when I talk. I'm just talking. But I do have a podcast. It's Parent Empowerment Half an Hour, where I actually attend board meetings and stream them. And then, because, you can stream them, like from on my computer, I could record and pause and talk about what's going on in the board meeting. Most people don't even pay attention. Hell, I remember going for years and years in Sacramento Unified School District, going to the board meetings. And I'd be the only person in the room. And so Jim Sweeney was a superintendent at the time. And I knew what was going on. He had written a book, and more than that, he had rehired all of the administrators in Sacramento Unified School District and put them under him and his business. And then he moved their, what did he do? He moved their retirement over and shifted in, and he shifted. That's what I do right now. I'm talking. And so he shifted it and put it under his corporation. And so he was offering some kind of different rate for retirement. And he was double dipping because it was insane. But then when I convinced a few other parents to help us look into that, and then we got this guy named Reggie Fair, and as he was an educational lobbyist, he really understood what was going on. And so the night that he went to the board meeting and asked the governing board to do an investigation in regards to what Sweeney was doing, Jim Sweeney retired the next morning at 9 a.m. And I don't know. I guess when you let people come in the room, it really demonstrates just who they are. And if they make themselves look whatever way they would like to make themselves look like, they're welcome to do so. And I have no control over the behavior of others who would like to step up and make themselves look like something. I'm sure somebody said something. But guess what? I've got tough skin, and it really doesn't matter, because you don't have to be here. You could just keep on moving on, Mr. Ben, because that's what you do, and that would be apparent. But when you make yourself look like, that's exactly what you look like, and I can't help that. And so, in America, I know who I am. And I can look at things and understand that perhaps we should all take a pause. Because if we don't start understanding that we all pay, and it doesn't matter if you pay a penny or a dime, we're all paying for what is mandatory under the law. And what is mandatory under the law is public education. So if you have children, you will be affected. And you will have to participate just like all other people. And it doesn't matter if you have a home. It doesn't matter what you do have or what you don't have. You will be required to participate just like all others. And that's the amazing thing. Because the same thing happens when you have a child that would be under special education. And then you've been advocating for that child their whole life. And then when they turn 18, they become the adult and are asked to advocate for themselves. And I'm saying, that's amazing. Thank God my relationship with my son is excellent, and he respects me as his mother, because we do things together, and I support him and he supports me 100%. But then my sons, I have 3 sons, and they all support me. And that's the way it should be. But most families don't raise children that understand that life is about loving oneself. And if you love yourself, you just don't make yourself look like. As if we could arrange to come down and collect it for me, back in person tomorrow morning, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I do know that I am watching a crisis in public education across this nation, because it is. Simply because we as a people have never organized, and we as a people do not talk about the number of children who don't have same access under Early Start as it is required under the federal government. That equal access, that's part of the Constitution, and most people don't even read the Constitution. That's why, that Project 2025 was identifying that states had had problems with providing access to all. And that sounds like rather personal to me, because it really doesn't matter. You can hit me back when you... I'm gonna move. Did you unplug me? Yeah. I'm gonna go. Oh. Well, yeah. He knows he unplugged me. I was charging too, because he came over to get in my space. There we go. Now I'm plugged back up. And, the most awesome thing is that, if you have something to say and it's meaningful, then you too could stream live and say whatever it is you had to say, instead of having to come up and show yourself as to be whatever you are to the public. Like, it makes a difference, because it really doesn't matter. I'm concerned about the number of 3-year-olds that were enrolled in Early Start here in Las Vegas, as there is a 38% population of Black children who are put in foster care here. And there's an 88% population of Negro children in the juvenile facilities. And we are still paying for public services, as, they have something called the cabaret tax. So all these Black entertainers are paying a higher rate to perform here on the Strip. And they're paying our share. Even if we're not paying, they are paying. But the real deal is when they come to the table, they're not allowed to speak on certain things. You know what I'm saying? So people are quickly misguiding and misredirecting these folks and talking about what they can have a conversation about. When I don't care what kind of official you are. If you're elected, you still have constituents, and I'm considering myself a constituent and also a citizen. And as I have filed complaints and they have been accepted, but it's a joke, because most people who look like me have no idea that they should be having the same conversation that I'm having in regards to the failed services, in regards to so many people not making it. And that's just real. As I always say, pimping ain't easy, but GOTDAM, I guess somebody must do it. And they do it well, as failure has always been an option. But when people sit back and would like to understand that they can arrange payments for themselves to ensure that, that they're lobbying right now for their adequacy, for the retirements, and for thank you, their retirements, and what their health care. Everybody wants to talk about their benefits in 2025. And people who don't have benefits, believe me, they don't. I'm 66 years old, and I am a proud single mother. Yeah, because I had 3 baby daddies, but believe me, 2 are already in the urn, meaning they made choices in their life that led them down the unalivement track, and they're not living anymore. But there's still one that, hasn't even chosen to know who his son is, but, his son is just very bright. I have him in a cybersecurity class, and he's independently learning on his own. But, when they say that you are suspected of being severely MR, and those words because, we can't say them out here, but he was in the spectrum, he was autistic, but he graduated with a one-on-one aid, a laptop, and above proficient, And, when he's having a problem with his computer, he can certainly research it. He knows how to find the problems and research and then correct whatever's going wrong. You see, you have to be a person that what? That is willing to find out no matter what, how to keep moving forward in life, because failure is just not an option. But some people have just accepted failure, and some people can't reason within their own mind and have zero or no direction. When the conversation in every state should be on how many 3-year-olds were ready to enter into an educational program in 2024. Because see, that American Rescue Plan, that all the states got that extra money, that American Rescue Plan funding. It was money for the people that live within the communities. The most affected people would be the people in poverty. Got it? So all those poor folks were expected to survive during that COVID thing. But, the big C thing, the thing. And then, no, there was so much money that came into every state. And Nevada has like $770 something million just sitting up there. And they couldn't spend it because Nevada probably just have chosen never to do anything. There's flexibility. So they really never had to really worry about the use of federal dollars because there's flexibility and there's just flexibility. But then there's your rights as a human. And their policies can't be so burdensome that you can't survive. But when they have all these senior citizens just living in the street, I've never seen so many seniors. And even if they have wheelchairs, the wheelchairs are rolling to Walmart. And I'm saying, this is insane. Because they have to use their own resources to get wherever they have to get. And there is no public transportation. Like most of the cities have this rideshare kind of program because they get money from the federal government for transportation of people with disabilities. But here, when you can't call for a ride, and then you're riding your scooter, and then there's so many accidents, I'm saying, come on now. Who are we as citizens? And this conversation is really when it went to leave a message, it left a message. I get a lot of calls and they're like telemarketing, but there must be a big thing going on with people on Medicaid because the extra money, they say. But really, if you are born with a disability, you are entitled to a certain level of Social Security or aid, whatever. And then there is another kind. Like if you get a work-related injury, then your Social Security is different. You get it? But then once you reach retirement age, well then it is just, what it is. What's she saying? Oh, great. It didn't cut off. But today is that great American blackout. And the deal is that we have to show up. And this should be a day for understanding that in every state, we have to have these conversations as to, are we there yet? Since 1964, are we there yet? Because we're not. Because nationally, even though we have a black caucus and so many states have caucuses, they send a representative, and that representative is the representative on the black caucus. So our senator is a representative on the black caucus here in Nevada. So he speaks for the community under us, we the people, and then he represents as a senator, he's representing. But come on now. We see the poverty. We see it. We see the pain. We see these senior people. And when the rent goes up $140 just because it can, that's what it does. And that's just, you don't have any control over that. You don't have control over your resources. You just better figure out how you're going to get more money. And sometimes, well, no, all the time, I gotta say, the universe brings you what you need. And for the most part, we are all taken care of if you have faith. And that faith comes from the mustard seed, because it's always happened for me. I've never really struggled, meaning that I've always had a car. I've always had transportation. I've always had what I needed. But then I see people who are struggling with no services, absolutely no services, and their children are acting out. And they use the wrong methods in which, to help transition these kids' behavior, but there are ways and methods. And some of these children have sensory issues, and they're all hyped up and they can't slow down. And then, which causes problems in the classroom. But, that's what special education is for. But our people have seemed to make special ed like it's some kind of disease. And I'm saying, oh no. Did you not know that special education is Burger King? But you don't even understand that level of Burger King because it's the way you need it, not necessarily the way they would like to give it to you. And, these families are signing these agreements that they're not even going to sue the state of Nevada should their children enter into these agreements with this harbor program. And I know I saw that. I read it and I couldn't believe it. But I'm saying, then once I found it, I didn't find it again, right? They are all in my shit, my drive, whatever. It's like your panties are down and they're all in your stuff. They know everything. Hell, when you try to save an appointment in your Google Calendar and it won't save over there, it's got an error. I mean, come on, who's running who over here? Because I know pimping ain't never been easy, but when you ain't got no rights, and who you gonna tell? I mean, because the people I've talked to don't really understand. They just allowed this level of failure. And I'm saying for the black community, what in the hell happened? Why don't we know how many 3-year-olds are ready to enter into the Early Start program here in Clark County, especially since we have all these black elected officials and we have a black AG and we have a black senator and we have all these other African American, or maybe they don't consider themselves black, maybe they just consider themselves multicultural. I really don't care. But for the people who look like me that are targeted under the race factor, well, why is it that only 14% or maybe even less than 7% of them, which may only really be 4% of the students, and those students might not even be homegrown students. They may be students that came in because their family moved here. And I'm saying, that song, hell no to the no, because everybody needs to sing that. Hell no. Because it's unacceptable. I don't have to wait to try to share. And one thing people need to understand, you don't have to be nominated to step up, because the gift of life was that you was born and that you experienced some shit. And then you done lived through some shit and you got some shit to share. And I do have shit to share. I mean, come on now. I've been on Social Security since I was 38. That's why, and I'm not killing myself out here trying to continue to work when I was injured on the job. And when I settled for an open medical, which people just feel that they have no responsibility to honor that contract. Do you know that contracts are forever? I do. So maybe I won't get that contract fulfilled right this moment, but contracts are forever, boo. It is a contract. And that's just, and they say, oh, you should have contacted. I did contact. But you got all these people that are considered, they're operating in the best interest of what? The people they were hired to. That's why they could contact me and tell me somebody broke into my medical records. And I know somebody did. Probably somebody was hired from the state of Nevada, because I also filed a complaint against the state of Nevada that was accepted. But I shared it with the Negro people, but we couldn't get together and have a conversation about it because people just don't know what I know, And it's not a secret. It is well known that each child generates a certain level of money. And so because of the way they do the population here, they have a committee, hmm a facility use committee, and they have a committee that, that determines where the children will attend school so that they can, and then they have also a committee. But I was trying to understand the relationship with the cities because it's the cities that do plan. But here in Henderson, I'm just confused because there's all these new suites and developments that are going up with thousands of people that are living in these little tiny areas. And I do mean thousands, meaning that if you had to evacuate, there is no evacuation plan for your ass. And that's not funny. You would have to know prior to getting in these congested groups. Is there a really way to get out of here if you had to get out? And the city has a responsibility to ensure, and the state has an obligation to ensure that the citizen, and I guess they do have these meetings, but I had never thought about it. But then I'm seeing, and then I didn't know like the suites, the weekly suites were there. I did not know how deep that was really deep because you go in these weekly suites and they have over 1,000 units. That's over 1,000 families. And where do they get their services? Well, I don't know. And then some of these people just don't even send their kids to school. I mean, they're homeschooling them. I mean, they're supposed to have reputable agencies, but you can do whatever you want to do as an American citizen. But you too share the obligation. Maybe that's why. Maybe that would be the reason why they have, the 38% population of Negro children in the foster care. And I raised my sons. My 3 sons, I raised them all. I still have a relationship with my 3 sons. And I'm just saying, well, where are the families? But I'm more concerned as the population of Negro children that are being removed from their families or parents simply because of circumstances. I mean, they don't put them in a program to try to, no, they just remove the baby. You know what I'm saying? They don't train anybody. There are no trainings happening here. And I'm saying community is so fractured because you got the haves and those people who have, well, they create programs like CASA. And that CASA program, you got to have a certain level of insurance. And, they do this extensive background on your ass to provide services. And I do understand that. I understand that, but I don't understand the training that they've been giving. I don't understand what you think, but I think that is a compliment. And so thank you so much for your compliment. But we just have an obligation to ourselves as citizens in America. And then I don't try to fall back on people saying that the Constitution was never ratified. I could care less that it was never ratified. The real deal is that we are living here in America, and as an American, you have an obligation to ensure that, they say all children should have access to public education because it is mandatory under the law. And that's why they have the interference of the people when they come in and take children from these young people because they just really don't understand. Maybe they smoked some of something, or maybe they did something that they shouldn't have done and the baby came. But I'm just saying that's because they're not focused in the first place. These children were not planned in the first place. And as they were not planned, there should be a process and just understanding oneself, and the value of oneself. And then understanding that whole pregnancy process, because it is a whole thing that you have to go through, because it is you understanding that you are going to be committed to someone else's life. And it's a huge transition, but the system's not even established to help you grow up. It's really not. And if you're not coming from a family, then I don't get it anymore. I can't even tell you what I would have done without my mother. And that's just real. And she lived until she was 85. And she lived beyond that 85 because she planned to take care of me. Because the house is my house now. and I have a home, and my children have a home, and we have a home. As long as the laws don't change around here, because we're living in a place where we don't own the land, but we certainly own the building. And the whole thing is that we as residents need to understand what was the opportunity to live amongst other senior citizens where certain things are taken care of, but then certain things are not, because it wasn't the benefit of just having someone care for you. It was supposed to be had to be certain age to live up in here. I guess income really never came into the play, but most people here are income restricted. But it's just sad that, we're still not directed as a people. Sure, we have entertainers, but the entertainers that we have in America of color don't represent the representation of leadership, don't represent the representation of equality or access, they represent who they represent, Did you not hear Snoop? He's living his best life. He ain't got time to deal with you, and it's just real. Why would he? Even though he does give back to his community. He really does. He does things to set an example. He's not living that ghetto life anymore, although he just represents street and ghetto. And we all know that because we know who he is. That's what we admired about him when we was young too. Now we just old. And he is old too, but I'm older than him. Let's just all get this clear. And there are so many musicians that would sing music that would encourage you to love yourself, like R. Kelly's songs. His music is not bad, boo, but I think you have the wrong thought about him, whatever was going on, because that's what they do in those circles, and that's what their parents was doing, and those young people was doing whatever they was doing to keep in the circle and whatever, and I was not a part of that. But the music that he put out was for the benefit of the people who look like him, not necessarily for the thought of what was going on behind the scenes. And I think he understands the lesson, and that was a lesson for the community that would choose to continue to listen to his music or choose not to. But here we stand trying to get into how much money this man really is valued at, as this money is not going in through the American, standard process. No, he pulled his money out of America a long time ago, I believe. Just like Nipsey. Nipsey Hussle was doing amazing things, and Nipsey was just an amazing young man. But the dream, how does the dream continue even, when you got that one basketball, that Kobe guy? Okay, but for the community, when do we stand up and say enough is enough? Here in Nevada, they have this thing called millennial scholarships. These millennial scholarships are K-12. It's a scholarship. And then, the governor promised that he continued those millennial scholarships, and he certainly did. But nobody's addressing the failed services of the children who look like me. And because even through the leadership of the people who look like me, well, they have not been invited to the table. And I said, well, goddamn, how is it that you never get to the table? I just really want to understand that limited factor of what the table actually looks like when we come to the the state and say, excuse me, Mr. Governor, but you are aware of the limited services that are going on. Because, if Head Start has to do with the funding that should be targeted with the children in poverty, but you go upwards of a 250% of the poverty index. Guess what? Because you got that level of flexibility, because you got urban and you got rural, and you got all these different people that you have to, all these different people that you actually have to address their needs. And then I'm saying, excuse me, but I just need to know what the bigger picture is, because you people just choose not to participate in the civil rights data because you just go public and say it's not required, but it is by law. And then when you have all these children that you're moving, and you say you probably provide service for these children, over, I think it was over 100,000 of them being moved through the harbor. And what is the harbor? I was I was mystified about what the harbor was. And then you have people who go and write these RFPs. That's request for a proposal. And I don't care what there is, what service, they're not education related, boo. If it's just targeted trying to support you and sustain yourself as a, as a foster youth or something like that, you know what I'm saying? I get it. Because these service, but you have these houses that exist here. And then the federal government came in and shut a whole bunch of them down because they weren't properly formed. And they had, now, I believe those people that were running those programs are still trying to stay in those programs, but it's that damn transparency that you would need to understand that should be happening. And how many children do we have in the foster care that are young adults? And what services are actually being provided for them? Because I'd like to understand just what the mandate is under, the children are here, so they are like part of the property of the state of Nevada, because you live here. And so when the money comes here from, for the federal government, everybody's included. And then, based on your whatever, because I'm over 66, I'm sure there's dollars that are added to the pot because I have a disability of some. But I'm just trying to understand. I remember when I first lost my job, this African man told me, as long as my mind was not broken, I was not broken. And I kind of get it now, but physically I could not continue to be the workhorse, and that would be real. And so, however you see it, it is what it is. And so I've always participated locally until I couldn't. Here you've got to find a way in, and then I tried to even get a job through this agency that actually writes this right now. See, this is how it works. The agency writes the grant for the feds to provide the level of services to the public, and then they become the agency. They wrote the grant, and it's on their website. But the requirement is that the state provide that level of service, and then you still can't get in unless you know what you know and know someone to get in. And I'm saying, this is amazing. I understand the one hand washing the other, but it is amazing because we're still not at the table. And when you see people making these moves, they put two Negro men, first black men, they appointed them to the governing board, and then Tamika, I guess she's sitting on the governing board now. And so we have black representation, but what we don't have is any community. Those black people, even though they're sitting at the governance level, they've not directed the staff to organize a committee so that we, the people who live in the community and certainly have concerns, can come and figure out what the hell is going on, because we're still paying these taxes. Excuse me. If regardless of how minimal the taxes are, we're still paying these taxes. So that gives you kind of the right to share your concerns, It is the only obligation you have after a certain age. After you ain't out there no more like that, what do you do every day? Sit in the box? Oh, the television. It's watching you. Hell, there could be a weekly show about your ass. And from room to room, you've got full coverage. You get it? Because you got two-way transmission, and that's on you. Keep some things private. You should not have a TV in your room. Go to bed. That's just real. But hey, I'm just, I've always come to the community and shared, what's going on, but this is so dysfunctional. And I've never lived in a place where, I couldn't even understand, well, who is actually coming from these communities. But I'm sure these communities they have a lot of educated people up there. They're not going to let certain stuff happen to them. But when you have an integrated community, as this is where I live off of Mona Lane and, over here by Smith's. And there's these really Well, they have, yeah, they have some houses that are single family, but then they have these multiplexes, and they have like 600 or 700 or 800 of them behind us, and so that's a whole different property value structure thing going on over there. But as for the public services, like how many schools do they build over here? They didn't build no new schools. No, they still have the same limited resources. So they have a lot of pop-up little tiny programs for, children under a certain age. But it really makes a difference if you have, proper, adequate access, that circle time and sharing time and communication, and then speech and language is actually taught. And if your child not talking by a certain age, there's an assessment that is required by the federal government. It's called Child Fine. And then the school district is supposed to be providing language development at the age of 3. And I don't understand why these children are not talking. And no one is demanding that we understand the adequacy of the services. Because when they say your child's not ready to enter into early start, what does that mean? And what are if they're not ready, what are they providing? And that's what I would like to know. And so I asked Joan Ebert, she says, oh no, if we're not turning down any students. I said, well, really? I said, because all the parents that I talk to at the Goodwill, because that's usually where I find them with their children during the day. And I said, are your children enrolled in an early education program? And they just straight up tell me no, because there was no room. And I'm saying, of course there's no room when people need child care. You know what I'm saying? And that is considered free child care. And I'm saying, oh no. See, you've got this thing going on. And it's going to be requiring that we have a new conversation about, what's actually happening. So many people my age are finding out that they were just never prepared to retire. Because what did retirement look like? It's really, unless they invested in the retirement plan, or unless they were blessed with, a parent like my mother was, because all of us are successful. I just want to say that, this is 2025. And it's 12:10, and I figure, I've got to do something. And I might as well talk to the people who always paid some attention to me, but really not. It really doesn't matter, because this is a time where we, the people, have to do what? We, as American people, have to understand that the obligation to ensure adequacy is happening for, 3-year-olds. It's a part of a requirement for the state to provide that level of education, so that becomes like free paid child care from the state. You understand what I'm saying? So how much are they putting towards that? Because your child simply just needs those services. And when children can't talk at the age of 3, you can see it, because they can't communicate with the other children on the playground. But even if they're in child care, if they're not getting those services, it concerns me that maybe they are in the spectrum and all language is taught. It's a form of communication. It is a form of understanding that we've already decided how to ensure adequacy happens for all children. As they said, my son was starting at the severely underrepresented, and he just repeated the 2nd grade. But by the time he graduated, he was already college level, 2nd year college. I mean, I took him over there and got him assessment. He don't need no more English. No. And I don't fight him on anything. He probably wants to take care of his mom. I've got loving sons. That's what I got. I'm so blessed. I'm just blessed and highly favored. That's what I gotta say. But anyways, I want to thank everybody for coming in and dropping in. And I want you to go to I would like to support my podcast over there on Spotify. It's Parent Empowerment Half an Hour. And it's on Spotify. And I have over 700 shows over there. And the only way, that you're going to learn what I know, even a little bit of what I know, is to go back and relive part of my journey. So I want to get out there and promote myself because they're not going to promote me. And of course, why would they? That would lead more independent thought people, independent thinking people. And and then I have this show, this station. Then of course, there's Facebook, Darlene Phillips Anderson. I'm right there. I can't have any more friends. But hey, I just need to do something different. And that's why I wanted to do this, because these are just things that your mama never told you. But perhaps we all need to pay attention, because this is us as Americans. We all have to have these conversations. Are we there yet? Hell no. Not with the level of kids in juvenile facility that we're going to pay for how long, and the recidivism. You don't understand. All of the programs and services that are provided to our children have to do with redirecting them. And we can't seem to get in the house to provide any services to them because they're not letting us work with our community. And honestly, it is past time. So I would encourage you to have conversations with your elected officials. Let them know that it is we the people, and we expect conversations in the future. And thank you for electing some black representatives on CCSD school board. But understand, those conversations with those black community members still has to happen. And so I would encourage you to understand that we're not going anywhere. We're just going to be right here. But until, I've got to go get some water, so I've got to take a break. But until I see you again, which will probably be sometime later on today, I want to say thanks for dropping in and much love. And hey, please share my podcast over there on Spotify. Parent Empowerment, half an hour. Share it and subscribe. Share and subscribe. I got to promote myself. Y'all have a blessed day now.